Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. In today's video, we're going to be checking out Aphidus the Hivelord in Hydra. What can he do? The new mythical champion. He has got an AoE attack that places burns, and if enemies are under burns, it actually activates them. He has another AoE attack that before attacking puts on increased attack and extends enemy debuffs, an A1 that can put out Perfect Veil, and then a passive that is decreasing enemies' defense up to 30% whenever he places HP burn. For every HP burn on the enemy team, he's going to get extra crit damage. And whenever HP burn activates, it's going to permanently up his attack up to 50%. So for Hydra, we're only going to get up to 40% crit damage bonus. I mean, that's still pretty good. But we will be able to potentially reduce the head's defense by 30 and get him 50% more attack, which is cool. He has a second form. We're not going to be using it today. It's just something that's not going to happen. Let's jump in. And to do a little comparison here, I basically threw together this team. And the goal wasn't to make like the best team ever, but to make a decent team, a solid team, where we could compare what Aphidis is bringing versus someone else. So in this case, we've actually got Artak in the lead. We're going to be swapping in Aphidis the next time, right? Both of these champions place AoE burn, can explode AoE burn. Aphidis, in contrast, though, he is going to be bringing us increased attack, which is going to up the damage, for example, of Inquisitor Shamael. So we'll sort of see the effect that has. So that's what we're going to see. The rest of the team, just to break it down quickly, and you can sort of see a vibe for how it's working here in the background. We've got Vizix, who's going to be bringing us provokes and decreased speed and some ally protection. Shamael, he's in just for damage, really, and he is going to be also protecting us from Head of Torment. We have Elva Autumnborn. My mind went blank for a second. She's going to be healing us, cleansing us, giving us increased speed. So we've got the increased speed, the decreased speed. We've decreased defense from Ugo with block buffs. We've got Michinaki with another decreased defense, decreased attack, and he is also bringing us AoE Hex and some extra burns. And yeah, that's basically it. Then, of course, we've got our Artak and or Aphidus. I think it's a fun comparison, especially because Artak is, he's a champion most of you probably have, right? Because he was a free champ. So there you go. I think what we'll do is let's go up a couple of minutes here into this run, and we'll see how we do. I will say for this first team, one of the weaknesses with the Artak team, for instance, is that you're not transferring as much damage through Hex. And because Artak is doing most of his damage with burns, right? His actual physical hits aren't that strong. I would run into some trouble, actually. I left it full auto. No targeting or anything. Complete full auto. I did notice that there was some difficulty in actually breaking champions free when they are devoured. Like, he's not putting out that much upfront damage, just more consistent damage with the burn. So that can be sort of an issue. But let's see. So we're at boss count like 25 here. Let's wait for this head to respawn. Let's wait for us to go through a full rotation of a dead head and see sort of how far we're going to get in a similar time frame. And then we'll cut on ahead to the actual full damage. Okay. So I think let's go to boss count 30. That seems like it's going to be a pretty good indicator here. Yeah, so boss count 30. I think that's good. We're going to be doing about 12 million. Yeah, almost 12 million damage at boss count 30. If we skip on ahead, you can see how this is going fairly well. And yeah, ultimately, this is where we got with the Artak team. So we got 87.57 million. This was sort of our benchmark. What we're expecting with Aphidus is Inquisitor Shamael's damage goes up. Hopefully, Aphidus will do more. That will also push up Michinaki. So I guess, for example, you look at Ugo or Vizix, whose damage is not going to scale because of an Aphidus that much. Well, a little bit because of the decreased defense. But their damage shouldn't change too much. And we'll see sort of how it changes, right? So Ugo with 4 mil, Artak with 22, Michinaki 31. That's sort of where we're at. Let's skip on. And yeah, basically we just swap it around. Very simple. We just take Artak out. We put Aphidus in. Simple enough. I will say Artak and Aphidus also were not in quite the same gear sets, but Artak does have a 5-star Soul Reap, which is obviously a little bit different. But yeah, so we put Aphidus in, and we're going to just set him up priority 1, 2, and we're going to turn off his Metamorph. I just didn't really see Form 2 as being very useful. Like, in an emergency, you could swap him to provoke, but not really interested in doing a manual run or anything like that, so I didn't really bother. But here he goes in, bam, with the attack. And this is a nice thing about him, is that he brings increased attack for himself, and he does bring increased attack from Inquisitor Shamael. Now, of course, there's other things you could do. So, like, one question, I didn't compare him here, was to a Razelvarg, right? Razelvarg with the Shamael is very strong. But you have to bring an increased attack from somewhere else. So, probably a Mithrala, something like that. Possibly something like Lanicus would be also a decent one to bring in. There are options there. You can see we got a cleanse here. So maybe we're actually going to start off a bit slower on damage on this run because we actually did have a cleanse come through. We have a provoke set on Michinaki. I didn't notice a cleanse in the first run, so maybe it just worked out a little bit. The luck was a little bit different, but that's okay. We're going to be a little less consistent with decreased attack as well without the Artak. That's something he brings. That is a small benefit for sure. We're on brutal difficulty, by the way, but I'm hoping it's not going to be a huge deal. Yeah, let's see here. I feel like the damage per round is definitely higher at the moment with this. Like, he's making a substantial difference, which is what you would expect, really. Artak simply does not hit very hard. But Aphidis should hit reasonably hard, and certainly upping Shamael's damage should make an impact as well. We'll see if Shamael comes around to a hit in a second. Yeah, like, that's going to be hitting a lot harder. I definitely think you can see here, just as a quick glance, like, these AoEs from Aphidis, they're not absolutely clapping these heads, right? He's not completely destroying them. Not like Taris or something where, wow, the AoE comes in, you're like, oh my god, it's so much damage. But it is solid damage. Like, look at that. 19 turns in, we've killed our second head. That is significantly faster than last time. And he's also making your buffs more consistent, your debuffs more consistent, which I think is pretty nice as well. So in 20 turns, we've actually surpassed the damage that we did with Artak in about 30 turns. So with this particular comp, which again was set up to show that difference, right? I think you can see he's bringing in a pretty nice difference, which is pretty cool. Again, you can see we're full auto here, so like they're just hitting a decapitated head. We're not trying to break the guy free. Like, that's just going to happen automatically, or it's not going to happen at all. It's just that simple. We'll go up to the 30 turns, and then we'll skip on ahead just so you can sort of see how we're doing. Head of Wrath, he could definitely kill like Shamael for sure. That's why we've got Elva in, is so we've got revives in case the worst happens, which it might. So 30 turns in. This time we're coming in with about 16 million damage, right? So from 11, 12 million up to about 16. So it's a good chunk more damage. We skip on ahead. Here we go. And where do we end up? You can see we're really pushing on a lot further, a lot harder. And yeah, there we are at the end, coming up over 200 turns, which is where things start to get a little bit tricky for sure. It's about 45 minutes, just leaving it full auto. And we're coming out. Unfortunately, we didn't quite make it to 160 mil. We got close, but 159.28. And we can see the overall damage right here. Let me actually, I had screenshots of this, which might show it more clearly. Let's take a little look. Okay, here we go. So we've got a nice little screenshot. So again, we can see Aphidis with 42 million, Michinaki with 52. So Michinaki actually outperforming. That is because of the Hex, pretty much. Shamael also at 40. So, like, even though Aphidis is being boosted in turns by Shamael, and he's pumping out AoEs, he's exploding burns all over the place, like, his damage isn't crazy high, I would say. Like, I feel like if this was a Razelvarg team, you'd obviously need to increase attack. I feel like Razelvarg will be a bit further ahead, perhaps. But yeah, and like I think when we compare, this is where it's interesting. So here we had, you know, Ugo at 4 million, Vizix with 8, Shamael with 18. You're going to see a big difference. We jump here. Ugo at 6, Vizix at 14. So Vizix has benefited slightly more from the decreased defense that Aphidis is doing, but like Shamael jumps up to 40, right? So he goes from doing, you know, 4 to 18, which is about 4 times as much, to a significant chunk more. It's quite a big difference. It's a big jump up. Michinaki, he's gone up, but not quite as much. And certainly Aphidis in this case has done a lot more damage, a lot more. Not as long of a run, but still, you can sort of see the difference right there. Basically, everyone's damage has gone up because it's gone longer. And Shamael proportionately has you can see the red bar has really jumped up. And Aphidis is doing more in terms of that red bar as well. So I thought it was an interesting comparison, which is pretty cool. Now, in terms of how to build this champion, I put him in Razelvarg type gear, which is what I thought would be interesting to test out. So we're giving him very high speed, high attack, and tons of crit damage. So he's pimping out with the stats pretty much. I did have to give him an accuracy banner, so that's why his attack is not obnoxiously high. Right, he needs accuracy to actually land his burns. If he doesn't land the burns, it's kind of wasted. So he needs a good chunk of accuracy. But he is not in Savage, so that will affect it somewhat. And for his masteries, we've also given him War Master. So we're not stacking that up. And certainly when we get on to Brutal, that could have a bigger impact. So that's something to consider as well. Like if you put him into hard difficulty where the defensive stats of the Hydra are just a good bit lower, he's going to be smacking even harder. It's going to make an even bigger difference. Yeah, I don't know. What did you think about it? I think Aphidis, he seems pretty cool. He does need a good few mythical tomes. I guess you could skip them, right? Like it's giving him 20% more damage. But how important is that, really? Like, you could probably leave that out, and he's still going to slap. I think that's cool. He's going to have 3-turn cooldowns on his 2 AoEs, just out the gate, and he's giving you a 35% attack in all battles aura as well. I think it actually works reasonably well, even unbooked. His damage is not going to even go down 20% because a big chunk is coming from the burns. So that's not so bad. And a big chunk is coming from his utility of decreasing their defense. So yeah, that's sort of an interesting thing to consider. But I think he's pretty solid. I actually think this is a pretty solid champion for Hydra. I kind of feel Razelvarg might be better. Like, Razelvarg has really jumped out to me as super insane. Razelvarg, of course, is bringing you increased speed and increased accuracy and an AoE leech. Now, those things are brilliant utility and a speed aura. So he's got some really good utility in there. Really, really strong. But you do need to bring increased attack otherwise. Right? What you're getting with Aphidis is burns, so you could maybe run like a low block buff team and use the burns to get past Poison Cloud, though it won't bypass Poison Cloud. It will just help you get through Poison Cloud when it goes up if the burns are already out. Debuff extension is nice, but yeah, it's cool. I find it hard to rank the two, but he's certainly a worthwhile champion, right? If you pull this champion, is he good for Hydra? Yes, he absolutely is. He is potentially very, very strong. I'm excited to see, a lot of people don't have mythicals, but I'm excited to see, hopefully we get more primal shards soon, and people start getting more mythicals. And this one is definitely one to keep your eye out for. I'll also be curious if anyone comes up for a use for his Form 2. Form 2 as well requires a lot of books, right, with cooldowns. So this form, I think you can just skip this form, honestly. Like, you really want to book this for the buff, the cooldown. And same with this one. And then he's got his A1, like that's 7 mythical bucks into that. I think that's quite intensive. I just use him in Form 1 with no mythical bucks, honestly. And be like, yeah, boom, plug and play. Good Hydra champ. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. See you all next time. Goodbye. Oh, did I show you his masteries? I think I did. War Master and extending debuffs. All that. See you next time.